Good morning. Good morning and welcome. We've got people just joining us, so I'll do some quick intros and things while people are logging on. But thanks for joining us. My name is Matt Gallivan. This is the JobAdder Recruitment Report that we'll be going through today, and I'm joined by a few guests who I'll be introducing shortly. Just a bit of housekeeping. There is no fire alarms today. I don't know where your toilets are. But hopefully you can sit back and enjoy. What we're going to walk through today is we've polled countless recruitment agencies across the globe, and we're focusing on the UK element of that today. And what we're going to do is just talk through what we think is happening at the moment in our market. We're all acutely aware that it's been a bit of a tough market, but we're just going to see what's happening from I suppose the coalface of what's going on. There is a chat function if you'd like to jump into the chat, anything you'd like to put in. We've got that function in there as well. Also, any questions you have as we walk through for any of the presenters or myself, please fire those questions through. We'll either answer them in the moment, or there is time at the end for Q&A as well. So depending on what the question looks like, we might save it to the end, or we'll try and answer it in the moment for you. Just to introduce the speakers we have today, we've got Angela Rips, who's the MD of the Recruiting Gym. Many of you will know Angela. She does a lot as kind of a voice of the industry, really. She's got her finger on the pulse, so it's great to have her along today. We've got Ben Kaywood, who joins us from Sourcewell. Ben's the VP of Sales for his sins. Looks way too young to be doing this, but we'll let him off. But he's got a wealth of knowledge as well around from speaking to recruitment agencies day in, day out of what they're feeling, what they're talking about. And so we're glad to have his insight. And we've also got Denise Walker. So Denise is from Absolutely Business, which is a growth and scale up tool for SMEs, and we welcome her as well. Again, speaking to to recruiters, business owners, just constantly about what makes them tick. So thank you all for joining us today. It's great to have you along. Quick agenda so you can see what's going on. We're going to be talking key findings of the report, what's going on in BD and client retention, because that's a big topic at the moment. Something everyone's talking about is AI automation and the new tech that we're seeing. Something less talked about is RevOps and the future outlook of that. It's something that more and more agencies are engaging with. And then we've got a live Q&A and then a wrap up where we'll make the report available to everyone that's attended. So kicking off, some of the headline findings we're seeing at the moment. And just, I'm going to probably give a 1 minute overview of a couple of slides, some of the stats we're seeing, and then I'll throw it over to the presenters to give their views and opinions of what's going on. So one of the things we're seeing at the moment, 53% of agencies are expecting their revenue to grow. 45% believe the industry will grow with them. So it's great to see we've got a couple of percent in there who are optimistic in their own business if they're not in the wider climate. And what's great here is that we're seeing this despite, what's it been, about 3 years of a tough economic climate and market. We're still seeing that people are eager and expected to grow, and they're building their businesses for growth. What we're seeing here then is market pressures, the external market pressures that are impacting that view. And economic uncertainty is probably one of the biggest there. You can see, 52% are just not sure where the market's going or how that's going to impact them. The good old fees and competitions that we see, where that race to the bottom or people expecting more for their money. And a great one for me is AI and automation. And we will have a whole segment on that and what it means. And then lastly, just what's really driving this optimism, why people think things are going to grow. And it's this continued demand for new and experienced talent across all sectors. So this isn't, we're seeing specific niches. We are seeing that people are hiring at the moment. Again, the very close follow for this is this kind of specialist talent that's out there as well. We're seeing new job titles come up all the time, new disciplines, and people are looking for help to find those people. And then just thirdly, emerging markets. Again, you can see a long tail here of what's going on that you can kind of draw your own things from. And again, this report will be made available to everyone. So let me throw this out to the group. Where do you think this optimism is coming from at the moment? Angela, you're first on my screen, so I'm going to go to you first. Where do you think optimism is kind of coming from?
I think it's inherent in us as recruiters that we are the solution-driven people. So the point that we need to be negative and everything's doom and gloom just doesn't sit well with us. And it might be for a short period of time, but like you said, this has been 2-3 years now. We had that glorious 2022. That's never coming back. That was a perfect storm of everything that had gone before. I doubt we're going to get that level again, and therefore we need to focus on what's important. Now, I did want to quote John Amici. I don't know if anyone knows John Amici here. He's actually, I knew him from when I was 10. He's a basketball player. He's one of the only English players that played in the NBA. And I grew up in a basketball family. 2 of ours played for England. And he's been doing a round recently. And one of his key points was around data. And his quote was, data is about people, not just numbers. So I was so pleased when I heard that yesterday, because this is our opportunity to grab all of this data. So please do get this report, work your way through it. We're here today to support you and to show you areas of what you can be doing with what this all means. And that's the whole point of it. And we want to make sure that people aren't scared of the data. Yes, it's going to show some negative stuff, but that's great, because now you know what your strategy needs to be and now you know what you need to work on. So that was sort of what I wanted to bring to the forefront, that, okay, there's going to be negatives. We know they are. It's a tough market. There's all of these things going on that we're going to get into, but that means there's opportunities. So good old SWOT analysis. Yes, there's the threats there, but where are the opportunities? How can we turn that into an opportunity? How can we make this better? So I wanted to start off with that one. Okay.
And Ben, where are you seeing this optimism come from, or where, what's it kind of rooted in at the moment, that people are still, despite saying, yes, there's economic issues, there's geopolitical issues, but yet I still think things are going to turn out well. Where do you think it's coming from?
Well, I definitely would agree with Angela that we are inherently positive as a group of people anyway, and as an industry. But I think for me, it's very much about the baseline, because I think the baseline over the last couple of years has really come down. So now people are finding positivity in things that potentially 2 years ago weren't actually necessarily that positive, or seeing green shoots where necessarily they wouldn't necessarily have seen them before. So I think the fact that the baseline has dropped has meant that people are not clutching more at straws, but they're seeing more green shoots. And I think certainly over the last 3 to 6 months as a business, we've had much more positive conversations with businesses that have been in budget cycles where they haven't been spending, and actually we're seeing a lot of that coming back now. So yeah, as much as maybe the baseline's gone down, I do think there has definitely been a shift over the last 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and we're feeling that as well. We had a great quarter last quarter where people are looking to invest, and they're saying, look, how can technology help me with? And they just list a load of things off, and it's no longer okay, well, what's the smallest amount I can pay on this to get a return? But it's actually, okay, if I spend, what's the return, and what are those future plans? And they're really talking about the future and what the growth looks like, and it's a much better conversation, let's face it. And Denise, what are you seeing at the moment? What are people telling you around their optimism in the market?
Well, I think what they've done is dig deep and find the best in their business. A lot of organisations have got potential that's been previously untapped. And a lot of them have found, the people I've been working with, that, wow, we can do more than we thought we could. And only this week, I've done SWOT analysis. Angela, I love an old SWOT as well. It's good old fashioned, but it really works. There are opportunities out there that organisations are realising that they can go for, but they've got talent, they've got brilliance in their business already that, I'll come on to it later, but they can untap all of that to help with the new normal. And this has happened for years. We've had highs and lows in economies previously. We always come out of it. We're humans and we win. That's it.
Love that. We do. We are winners, aren't we, at heart? So I love that. As we kind of step through this report, one of the things that came to light was this entire BD focus. And this actually rings true from the last report we did as well, which is people are invested in business development. We're seeing that, and it's key when we see 4% are happy with their BD, which means that everyone else isn't or isn't as happy as they could be. And we're seeing that people are trying to improve that, and that's through better tooling, AI, and various other technologies, but also training and good quality staff, and making the most out of these. And that might be something as simple as looking at their social media campaigns and how they make the return on those. What we're also seeing is that, and I love it, telephony is still the most effective. Speaking to somebody, picking the phone up, having a conversation is still the most effective way that people are finding to do business development. LinkedIn, let's face it, it's where recruiters live. Great one for me. JobAdder is a CRM, CRM enhancements, and what we're bringing to the market. And then trailing down the bottom there is email. I'm kind of a double-edged sword on email. I think it has its place. I just don't think it's what it used to be. But this is what the market is telling us. They're coming back and saying that speaking to people is still the best form of outreach. But that is, it's a hybrid approach. So what they're also looking at here is their strategies involve social media, AI, new markets, and again, what CRM is bringing to this. But I think the key thing that comes through this for me is very much, it is a blended approach. It is not, right, let's get everyone on the phones all day, every day, back to the boiler room of the 80s. It's much more around strategically thinking, where does our market exist and what are they speaking about? And I think that comes through in these messages. But also kind of the expectations that go along with that. Client expectations are up massively as to what that recruiter provides. It's no longer arms and legs recruitment. And those arms and legs that we used to just place throw into jobs, their expectations are higher. Speak to me about what's going on in my industry, be a knowledge share, be that person who really knows what's going on and speaks with authority. And I'm going to throw this over to you first, Angela. What kind of strategies, BD strategies specifically, are standing out for you in this really competitive landscape at the moment?
I think what's critical is a combination, because as we all know, we all have different personality types, and therefore what works for one person and that's going to work really well, whether that's for the recruitment consultant, whether that's for the client, or whether that's for the candidate, will need to be adapted for someone else. So by having a strategy that actually covers all bases initially, and then through the conversations, it then gets whittled down to actually then a bespoke strategy for that individual customer that works for them. So you have to have those conversations. You have to have that human element, because what someone says on an email or says on a text or something, we know it gets misconstrued, might not hit well, and therefore by doing all of these different elements. What I am loving though is, I'm glad you've left it on that slide, because this is now all about us being consultants. Yeah. And this is how it should have been all along. But we knew there was a big amount of the industry, unfortunately, it wasn't. There was bums on seats and didn't really do much to get to know the person. It doesn't have to be that way. I used to run 1,500 temps out with a staff of 11, but every one of those persons had an interview from between 45 minutes and an hour, face to face. So it wasn't that they didn't have a personal touch. We got to know all of them. You can do that, and therefore you can then understand their expectations. And if you're delivering their expectations, whether that's through the recruitment cycle or through the sales cycle, then you're much more likely to get to that end goal and to be successful. If you're not, then unfortunately, they're going to go elsewhere, because they've got these high expectations. We need to meet them. I do love a quote. I'm sorry, guys, but I love a quote. And it's not me. Maurice Chang said, "Without strategy, execution is aimless. Without execution, strategy is useless." So it's all well and good if you're good at what you do and you're carrying on, but you're now aimless and you're going anywhere and you'll end up anywhere. But if you have that strategy, and how often do we have people that write their annual business plan or their quarterly business plan, and then it gets stuck in a drawer? It doesn't actually get put into action. It's a bit like the SWOT analysis we've already mentioned. Yeah, people go, yeah, I've written it. Okay, so how has that driven your plan? How have you used it? How have you taken that information and now made it into a plan? Oh, I didn't realize I was meant to make a plan out of it. No, that's the key point. So I want to reference here something that you did back in June, because if you didn't get to see the conference, the BDX summit that JobAdder did in June, I'm not saying out of turn here that you are going to be doing more of those, aren't you?
Yes, we will be doing more of those. Yeah, we had a great response.
So this was 3 hours of amazing content. I'm just going to reel off some of the titles. So the power of personal branding for lead generation, getting that started. There was a BD strategy workshop. There was tech for BD, the non-negotiables that everyone needs. There was building high performance BD culture within the business. There was specific AI hacks for recruiters. And I saw Vanessa on there. So thank you. Vanessa, our AI coach, was delivering some of that.
Yeah.
It's out there. There was so much information and documentation and everything for people to follow up. So if you missed it, make sure you sign up for the other one. There was like 700 people that signed up, wasn't there?
Yeah, we had a great turnout, and the response was also very good, because one of the things we try to, and we will do again, is we take the views of what people are talking about at the moment, and then we find the right experts to put in front of them. So it was great to see people's feedback afterwards, and I'm glad people got a lot from it.
Yeah. So make sure you have a strategy. Lots of different elements to that strategy. Not one thing will work for everything. But of course, picking up the phone and talking to people, you're going to get there a lot quicker as to what works for your customers. And therefore, once you've got your strategy, please put it into action. That execution is really important. And then, of course, the monitoring and reviewing, so that you do know what is working, what's not working, what's good for us in this market at this time. Because just because you say, we tried that before, it didn't work, try it again. That might be 2 years ago. Very different marketplace now. So you've got to keep evolving, keep learning, keep trying new things, but don't get distracted. We're very good. Those magpies, squirrel, whatever. Focus. Keep a focus. Keep the data running. We're back to data. That's what's going to tell you the truth.
Thanks, Angela. Yeah, I agree completely with you. And I suppose, Ben, that's a very nice segue over to you that says, what is that blended approach that we're seeing at the moment? Because yes, we've got to be speaking to people. But we've got technology that helps that. How are we seeing that kind of blend between the two that's coming through?
So just to follow on again, as you said, Angela, as well, I think the thing that stood out to me from that data set was actually, that I found surprising, was the social media stuff, because that's definitely something that we've seen to be a huge differentiator, but sits kind of outside the Sourcewell bubble. And that was something when I was preparing for this, I was thinking, okay, what are we seeing from our customers that's really helping them stand out? And I think it's consistency, having a plan, having a business that sits down with its users or its consultants and saying, look, this is how we want to represent ourselves to the market, and helping consultants to really be on brand with whatever they're posting. Because I think it can go a little bit awry. But I'm going to go back to the stuff we actually know. But I just thought that was really interesting, because the second point you mentioned, Matt, which is around the phone calls and how phone is still king.
Yep.
Now, absolutely right. We're seeing exactly the same thing from our side. The key thing is, though, is that, and this is maybe something I shouldn't do, is challenge the data a little bit, in that phone is definitely king. You're seeing the results from the phone, but that forms part of a strategy that is warming up individuals to take that call.
Yeah.
Now, it might mean that you're not getting the results on email. It doesn't mean that email isn't doing its job, which is raising awareness of you and your personal brand to that individual. So when you do pick up the phone, which obviously human to human is the best way of getting hold of people, you're able to have a much more successful call. So there is maybe some thought there that is why phone calls are so successful, because you're not seeing some of the sort of hard workers in that strategy actually getting the results. But some of the other things that we're seeing tactically across our customers are, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's just doing the basics, like being consistent over a period of time. What's really good is we're seeing a lot of people in the market now, whereas 2 years ago we were saying, well, what is your business development process? They were like, well, we send an email, we send a CV, we follow up maybe once or twice, but there's no sort of standardized way of working within their business, we're seeing people come to us with that now and saying, actually, we have this, we want to implement it. We just need to ensure that our consultants can follow this at scale and not miss anything, because it's those marginal gains that you end up missing from not following up that extra time that otherwise could have led to a placement. The other thing that, I mean, still rings true to this day is personalization. And this is where AI, really interesting actually, is going to really help people and maximize the value they're seeing from their CRMs, because it's going to be able to search your CRM, which right now probably, based on conversations we're having with a lot of our customers, has a lot of unstructured data in there, whether that be through years of misuse or not being able to track stuff correctly, CVs that just aren't linked to anything. Large language models are going to be able to actually search this information and pull back really tailored, personalized outreach messages, give people scripts for the purposes of reaching out, which is going to massively increase response rates. We see personalization increases response rates by about 90% across our business. So if you can be personalized at the scale or the type of business you're doing, obviously higher volume stuff a bit more difficult. That is definitely one of the things that we're seeing work across our customers. I think if I can, Matt, I'm not running on too much. The final point that I make to a lot of people who end up buying our tech, but there is lots of tech out there that anybody can buy, is that I think a lot of people see it as a silver bullet. So they will buy it and they go, right, great, we've got this new tech for you. Off you go, and come back to us 3-6 months later, like, oh, it's not working. I'm like, okay, so what rules did you put in place for someone to use this technology and to represent your brand and almost do it in the way that your business should be doing it? Oh, we didn't do that. And it's like, okay, so that's the key part. You still have to manage them through that technology and that platform. And that's where I see a lot of people go wrong, is they go, well, they're just sending a load of emails. And I'm like, did you tell them to make calls? Well, no, but so you just need to be really prescriptive. And we have this conversation a lot with clients when they're buying our platform. It's like, tell people, yes, you're going to send emails because that warms them up. LinkedIn, great, absolutely. But I expect you to call people 4 times before you give up on a business development contact. For example, that is the level of granularity I would probably expect from most people across the market. And that's really what we would suggest. Maybe not 4 calls, like you'll find your own balance there, but that's really where the success is coming from.
Ben, I could not agree more with you. It is, and this is why I said email is a double-edged sword, is it has its place, and it works, and that's great, but it's part of a bigger strategy, right? It's one touch point in what should be 14 to 17 touch points. So, it's find what works for you. And yes, not everything is a silver bullet, but a blended approach is what needs to happen here. And if you are really seeing that cadence work, then you need to hone down in on that. But if it's not, step back and say, okay, what part of this is broken do I need to work on? But it is one part of a much bigger piece. And Denise, I suppose one of the interesting things for me is this whole client bit is what's going on. In client retention, what are people doing to really build that loyalty and that ongoing relationship and trust? Are you seeing anything around that at the moment?
I'm really glad I've got that question, because it leads from what Ben's just said. And delighted clients stay and they don't go. And if you're focused on the types of audiences, the types of clients, and not only then candidates too, because they all influence each other, but for clients, who do you want to retain? Who do you want to, once you've attracted them, and how are you going to do that? Well, it's all about defining what looks good at every single stage of the customer journey. And it has to be defined. So things like early stage business development, the first client meeting, account management meetings, job management, and even leaver management at every single stage, if that is defined by the organization, like Ben said, buy a piece of tech, but define how it's used before it's used. So if all of that's mapped out, then what you're building is deep, on the customer journey, deep relationships, deep loyalty. And it means that, in particular with the account management meetings, where you're maybe talking more strategic needs, where are you going in the future? But actually, what's happening now and how can we adapt what we're providing for you? If you have those touch points all correct, you will see what your clients need, how you need to adapt, how you can work with them going forward. And it's all by thinking about what will they feel, what will they do, and how will that mutually benefit us as we go. And that way, I've seen people, when just looking at what they've already got, like I said earlier, people have got brilliance in their business. They look at the way they're doing these things. Some of it's not defined, some of it is, but they've got people, pockets in their heads doing really cool stuff that others don't know about. But once everyone is involved in defining the steps on what they look like, and then that's shared with everyone and they're empowered to do it the way the business needs it done, I've seen 20% increase in revenue. And I've seen that consistently just by doing the customer journey elements, let alone other elements in a business. And then it kind of creates loyalty, trust, and you know your clients really well. But it's not just one thing. As has been said, it's a mix of things. I think that's it. Yeah, 20% increase.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I just, please excuse the personal anecdote here, but I always say to my team, sharing is caring. Nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. So we all need to kind of pool that resource and then share it and see what's working for them. Why is it working for them? But my thing, when I first started managing accounts, one of the things that I realized I was doing this well is when a customer said, "Love you" at the end of a call. Now, I'm sure he's meant to say bye, but I'm going to take it anyway. But you're like, yeah, that guy's bought into me. Like, if he thinks I'm part of the family, telling me he loves me at the end of a call, totally taking that. Thank you so much, all. And I'm just going to remind everyone, it'd be interesting to see what people's own BD plans are. If you want to check that in the chat or the questions, so we'll happily pick that up in the Q&A time later. As we move into AI adoption, this is a crazy stat. So we're seeing 81% of recruiters are already using AI and automation. That's up from 69% in our last report. And I wouldn't expect that everyone, it's still new, there's still elements and nuances to it. Wouldn't expect there to be extensive adoption as the majority, but it's great to see that it's some elements of their role, regardless of what that looks like. Even if there's some, outline cases, even if it's just CV formatting and those kind of things, that they're using tools to help them do that. And it's with only 4% of no adoption. That's about what I'd expect to see at the moment. We're not on the early part of this wave. It's kind of cresting, I feel, at the moment. And what we've seen here is that what are the actual use cases? So we're seeing that if we take the two corners here, so 78% is streamlining admin and parsing resumes, which I am a recruiter in recovery. I would call that admin, which I shouldn't. But it's great to see what they're doing there. And then also, they're using it to improve the candidate experience, which is something we're seeing is candidates want more, and they're using AI to help them do that. And the optimizing job ads, I find a real interesting one because large part of my background is around looking at these job ads and making the most out of them, making sure that they're landing in front of the right people at the right. For me, social media comes a massive part of that. Are you addressing a new element of your market? And I'll, when we talk through this, I'll give a quick note on. I speak to a lot of younger people in there as they look for their first jobs and those kind of things. Where they find those jobs, and are they in front of the right people at the right time? 80% are seeing time saved from AI, which is huge because time's our greatest asset. But what they're also seeing is that their team are performing better. They're winning new business. This is an overall win. This isn't a niche part of the business. It's helping one small part. It's actually, it's really impacting everything that we're doing at the moment. And I think it's great that we are leaning into this technology so that we're seeing these key performance indicators improve over time. 69% agreeing it's a worthwhile investment. Maybe some just aren't seeing it yet. Maybe it's new to their business, or they don't know how to measure it yet. I think that number, like previous numbers, will increase over time. But we're seeing that they're 54, so just a little over half are planning to spend more on AI. But for me, one of the key things to call out here is 48% are seeing this ROI, so return on investment from what they've spent. So last year was 32%. That is a 69% increase. You know, it's starting to pay dividends. I'm going to kind of Ben, I'm going to come to you first. Do you have any kind of use cases for this, for where people have used AI and they're seeing those investments back?
Yeah, definitely. I think the admin number obviously is huge. That's probably the first thing that most people can think of, because it's really obvious. You're looking at when you're looking to invest in systems, it's trying to find systems that, yes, are fully integrated. Like if it doesn't integrate right now with your tech stack, just don't buy it. That would be my advice, because it's going to really hold you back in the future from other things you want to add. But when you're looking at AI, it's about getting something that is going to be able to listen, do the writing, do the summary, take all the notes, transcribe everything. Essentially, at some point in the future, recruiters will never have to make a note again, because it will just have someone doing it for them in the background, creating their tasks, or organizing their days every day as they walk into the office. So making sure that if you're going to invest in it, it's something that's fully integrated with everything you're doing, not just your emails, not just your telephony system, with everywhere that you possibly could be, because that's the way that it's also going to help you retain value in your business. Think about how many side conversations are ongoing right now inside your organization that aren't being recorded, little nuggets of information about who supports what team, or I don't know, I would only move because of X, Y, and Z. And like, these are the things that often get missed, but are so important to getting those deals done. We've all been there. Someone's about to take an offer. Oh no, sorry, I'm not going to accept this one because of X, Y, and Z. And you're like, oh, I didn't remember that from the first call. We've had 7 calls since then. So that's where AI, or rather when you invest in AI, you need to be thinking ahead about, okay, how are we going to be being able to leverage some of this stuff? So from an admin perspective, the first one that springs to mind is things like inbox agents, for example. How can we remove some of the big portions of your day? Managing an inbox is time consuming. Often you're writing really mundane messages, and it can just be done for you. It can even copy your tone. So it can take your tone of voice from your last 100 outbound emails or whatever it may be, and it will just write it for you. Yes, it's not perfect every time. You can update it, change it before you send it. But that, especially people who are account managers, for example, spending a huge amount of time in their inbox, can really save a huge amount of time. The second part to that is the use case that you mentioned, Matt, is candidate experience. Where does candidate experience most often fall down? In that, yes, we're going to take you to the next stage. No, we're not. Here's the feedback. AI can start to prepare that for you based off the back of your calls, so that when you are, or you don't have time to send those follow-up messages, it's going to write it for you, and then you just have to check it and click it. And like, these are the things you're going to see really help candidate and client experience, because it will work exactly the same way for clients as well. So searching and matching is another one that we see a lot of. Again, everyone's probably got a lot of unstructured data in their CRM or data they haven't even looked at or know where to look for. But this is where some of these large language models are going to enable you to be able to search this data set in a way that no human probably could or would be able to understand. So that's going to really help people draw value from their CRM that they don't even know exists right now, or they think is just dead weight. And that's something that I think we'll probably see over the next couple of months. I've touched on pretty much everything there, I think. From the main ones that we're seeing, obviously parsing CVs, everyone's aware, like that's a pretty key one. It's pretty simple, but it was always the bane of my life having to do it. So yeah, there's any others that you can think of, Matt?
There's a few out there at the moment, which, but I agree with you. Actually, it's actually the summary stuff that we're really enjoying. It's about stitching it all together, right? It's, yes, they've got to interact, and I get you want them to, you want different things to speak to each other, but it's actually having that view over all of it. What is the end-to-end solution? That's really what I'm seeing. I'm going to flip to Angela now. Angela, what are the operational gains that we're seeing in terms of client delivery and efficiency and those kind of things? What are people telling you?
Well, this is where we're seeing a difference between recruitment companies and large organisations. I'm in the lucky position where I work with recruiters, TA teams, hiring manager teams, HR teams in large organisations, and they are behind on AI. Well, that's just my experience, so that's not a stat. But even things like the note takers that you just mentioned. So I was training in Scotland recently, and they hadn't even thought about using AI to take their notes. And I use Otter for free. So if there's one, obviously there's loads out there that are amazing, but I just need it for a half-hour meeting the majority of the time. And it summarizes, it gives me actions. It chases me on my actions now as well with an email saying, here's your actions for the week that you said you were going to do. So all of this means it's going to be so much more efficient, because we've got people actually keeping an eye on what we're meant to be doing. And it's in a situation where it's not your boss, and therefore, okay, I'll take it from an email from Otter. If it was my boss coming up saying, what are you doing, where are you going, why haven't you done this? It's a different reaction, isn't it? So these type of things are going to make it easy. It's going to depersonalize that chasing, that responsibility, that accountability, which I think is a good thing, because we get too emotional with regards to that. So if you all put yourself in a situation where you're working on something and you're going to get followed up, you're not quite there yet, but if it's a robot that's doing it, it's like, okay, yes, I'm doing it now. That's great, and I can move on. So simple things like that can make a huge difference. I'm going to put, as Vanessa's here, her link in here. Have a click on this link. Vanessa from our company has gone through, and she's tried and tested hundreds of AIs. So these are the ones that made the cut. So again, it's about expanding your mind. So if you're running a business, yes, ChatGPT is great, but there is so much more out there and so many other systems. So don't just rely on that. Make sure you're doing your research. And as you say, make sure it's going to actually complement what you've got already. Don't make additional issues. And if you can sit down and write the list of, okay, what's stopping us? So back to your SWOT, your weaknesses. It's going to keep coming through all the time, isn't it? What's stopping us? What's holding us back? What would make the difference if we could resolve that? Start with that before you get anywhere near AI. Where are your issues? Where are the troubles? And then from there, you can then start identifying, okay, which elements do we need? And who should we go to? So yeah, that link, yeah, Chris, there we go. Massively helpful. And it is, if someone else has done all that work for you, because we know changing any system, it takes a long time. So if you can get to the ones that work and are going to be good, and they're recruitment related.
I think you've raised a good point, Nigel, is that it's what problem is this AI solving? So the note taker for me was a massive one. I did not have this prop ready, I've just grabbed it, but I have so many notebooks and stuff that I write down. It's unreal, right? And yeah, and it's taken all of that away from me, and I love that. But also, I'm not going, right, when did I? And I'm looking through notebooks. When I spoke to you 6 months ago, none of that. It's already that was a huge problem for me. Kind of flipping over to you now, Denise. How do we balance this tech with the human interaction and connection? Because it's great to have it, but it doesn't replace a person. So how do we balance that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic idea we've got now. We've got amazing tools to use in business. And the challenge is, as mentioned before, not to just go for the best new toy, just for the sake of it. Make sure that what you get is aligned with what you're trying to achieve with your clients, and it's going to help you reflect your values and your standards and your excellence and brilliance and difference all the way through. So, and it also needs to be joined up. So if you have, as before I said, defined all the elements to your delivery, all the touch points, the customer touch points in everything, make sure you know what can be best delivered by technology, as we've had brilliant examples just now from all of you, what needs the human touch, and then empower people to be able to manage not only the part they play in that, but to understand the whole of it. And that helps people take ownership and accountability for managing the CRM, the other technology, to the standards that everybody has agreed to, because that will then enable the whole of performance across the whole business to be right. And people need to understand that. The trick is to make sure it's joined up and that people understand their responsibilities to that. When that's in place, I've seen amazing opportunities for companies to adapt fast, because it's not like there's pockets of bits and pieces everywhere. There's one truth, one source of truth across the whole business that everybody knows, and it makes it easier to read the management information, monitor performance and standards, and adapt and evolve as markets change. That's it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I'm slightly biased. I will always say that the CRM should be the single source of truth, but completely agree with you. What we're going to do now is we're going to step into something that some of you might not be aware of, but this is revenue operations, or RevOps. And when we polled this, we were like, do you really understand this? And you can see the figures here. This is a real big untapped opportunity. And what RevOps essentially is bringing sales, marketing, and operations together, and using data and analysis to really break down the silos that are in place often in business between those functions. And what we've started to see, from personal experience, JobAdder has a full RevOps department, and what they're able to highlight for us is this is where you can make the biggest difference based on data. This is what's missing in your strategy or your plan, and only 21% of recruiters list RevOps as a success driver. In many of the businesses, we see that RevOps is actually they've got a seat at the table. It's a key part of what they're doing, but it is very much around talking to what is working and what's not from a semi-external. So, I head up sales here at JobAdder. I'm going to tell you sales is doing well, regardless, and that we might get called out for conversions and everything else, and I'll say no, it's all great, It's an external data-driven department that looks at what success looks like, and really what the future then looks like. So some of the key points we've pulled out here is that key demand for talent across all sectors, growth, and they're all expecting this revenue uplift. And what RevOps is that it replaces the little voice from the back of your head to the data in front of you that allows you to make strategic decisions for your business, allowing you to grow. I'm gonna jump to you. I know you've just spoken to these, but I'm gonna jump to you first. What is the real untapped opportunity for RevOps here?
Wow, I'm so glad this is being talked about by SMEs, because I've been working on a similar model for years with my clients. And although my model is wider, so RevOps to me is the operational side. Mine has strategic management and internal talent management too. And it is all about defining, as I said before, defining each part, what good looks like. But with SME leaders, just on the equivalent, my equivalent of RevOps, I've just seen much better customer journeys. I've seen significant, easy to outperform industry norms. Things like, on average, 80% fill rates for jobs. I've seen clients getting first interviews to placements. I've seen consultants billing 4 times more than the average in similar industries, because it's easy for them to do it. And it is because it's all joined up. Revenue increases, the conversion rates are great across the board in terms of the delivery, but it helps people to be high performing, happier, and helps team leaders train their people better. And that's because they've got the platform to do it on. It's so easy when what good looks like is clear, and it's joined up with marketing, and it's joined up with all the delivery, all the technology, and human is joined up too. And I've seen clients, when they're going for exit, have a much higher valuation because they have this replicable product, it's you can replicate it so easily. The data is clear. I mean, most clients I'm going with, they want to grow, they want to be successful. Some of them have got ambitious growth plans and an exit plan for 2-3 years time. I've seen clients able to sell within 2 years for a higher valuation because they've got the model, they've got the data to prove it, and there's nothing hidden. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really pleased that SMEs in our industry are going to know about this, because they can help themselves to do this in their business. It doesn't need a consultant to go do it. But I mean, I could talk about this for hours, Matt. So
no, do you know what? I'm grinning at you because I completely agree. It is that stitching together of the go-to-market function, and it is using data-driven kind of decision making to say, okay, well, what effect can we have where is the bottleneck, what is our success factors, and it's providing that information back to the business. Angela, I suppose I'm going to come to you and say, how does align in sales and marketing, right? How does that really fuel growth? Because I know you and I are on the same page of this because we spoke about it before, but what does that actually mean in the real world, having those two functions aligned?
Well, yeah, it's the three functions. It's the sales, the marketing, and the delivery, which when I started back in the 80s, sales and marketing was one department, and it was sales and marketing exec. It was always together. You had 360 consultants. So if you didn't have a sales and marketing department, they did everything, including the delivery. So it did used to be all linked together, but over time, and there are good reasons for it, a lot of it was stretched out and it was separated out, and people were playing to their strengths. But of course, you then lost the linkage between those departments, and there was always those issues where people would say, yeah, they're selling this, I can't deliver it. They're offering the world, there's no way I can do it. So those type of conversations, unfortunately, if you're having those in your business at the moment, you need to spend more time on this. Now, I like to practice what I preach. We've talked earlier about adopting AI and the fact that if you're using it, it can learn your voice, it can learn who you are and give you information in a way that you are. So I thought I'd ask AI. What were the key reasons? And I'll stick for the top 3 reasons. There was one word in all of this that I switched. So there we go. It shows you that I agreed. It agreed with me and I agreed with it. So first and foremost, the unified voice. By having all of these synced up, your value proposition, marketing amplifies it, sales then goes and sells it, but delivery can actually then prove it. And that's the key, isn't it? It's like, are you what you're saying? Do you deliver? So, and if the delivery team is really confident that they can, that makes such a huge difference. And then they are all going to work together. That's going to shorten the hiring cycle, which we know time kills all deals. So anything that's going to shorten the hiring cycle, I'm in on it. And I'm back to my first point where we started at the beginning, smarter use of data, because sales is going to know the pain points. They're going to be able to identify where things are going wrong. Marketing can track the market engagement to see, what's hot, what's not, what's working. And then delivery sees the customer realities of it all. So they're getting that feedback. And if you're not asking for feedback from your customers, please get onto that as well. Speak to me about something else that I can help you with there. So you're spotting the trends earlier, which means you're able to refine your pitch. You can adapt to the market very quickly. All this information is coming in together. You can make sure that your value proposition is actually hitting what's needed, which means you're going to be ahead of your competitors. So for all of those reasons, I'm an advocate of this.
Yeah, and personal answer, I was that guy who, at the beginning of my sales career, said yes, and then came to the business and said, by the way, I've sold this. And many moons ago, when I was at BT, a customer asked me, can you supply an exchange? I was like, yeah, of course we can, no problem. And then had to ask, what's an exchange? And it's the thing that powers a small town. No, we can't give it to a customer.
I can't believe it was BT, because it's BT I had in my head, because that was who our national team would go and sell. We got the BT contract and then we all went, what?
I learned the hard way. I learned the very, very hard way. And so, but I'm glad to say now obviously I work very closely with all of my colleagues, and I never say anything we don't have. But it is about understanding what the messaging is, what your value proposition is, and the whole thing together that says each individual person is able to contribute to that. I have a view on marketing, I have a view on operations, on billing, on all those things. And it's great that we've got that communication lines. I'm going to throw it out to each of you now. Ben, I'm going to start with you. What are your predictions? What's your outlook for things we move forward? And I'll probably haunt you with this in a future webinar that said, oh, remember you said, so be careful. But what is your kind of outlook for the future?
I think it's really hard to look beyond like a year. The pace of tech right now is just so quick. So even, beyond that, I would be taking an absolute guess. But I would say by the end of, let's say the end of next year, most recruiters won't be taking notes, as I said before. I think that'll just be a thing of the past. We'll have AI that is just enabling consultants to actually do more of the human stuff. I know people talk about this all the time, so I'm probably repeating largely what other people will agree to. But I do think, and the thing that's going to hold businesses back is a nervousness around losing control of their brand and reputation because they implement it in the wrong way or they implement the wrong things. And I think that's the key thing to get right here, is to make sure you have safeguards in place and you're still managing these systems and people through these systems. You're not just plugging it in and going, great, that's another thing solved. I can have one less person or I can do less management. Like that's the wrong way to go about it. I think it's still going to take a lot, in fact, probably more management and more technical skills in a recruitment business over the next year than maybe recruiters.
Yeah, just let's throw some tech at it and solve that problem and walk away. That'll solve it. I'm just going to remind everyone, if you've got Q&A, if you've got any questions, chuck them in the Q&A. We'd love to answer them. I'm going to come to you next, Denise. So what is your outlook and prediction for the year ahead?
For recruitment consultants to be proper consultants, for delivery to be much more easy, and as Ben said, the resourcing in the business will need to be right for this. So I see it changing, but the industry is not going anywhere. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for consultancy and for recruiters to do a really good job. And I won't go any further than that. I just hope people are doing strategic plans to work out what they're going to be and get the resources in place. Because I do see people needed to manage all of these systems. So
Okay, and lastly, Angela, for you, what's your prediction for the future? Look at your crystal ball.
Well, the fact that only 4% said that they were happy with their BD strategy, I think that is probably a good starting point, because we've been banging this drum for 3 years now. Come the end of 22, we knew it wouldn't last, the bubble would burst. So that's probably been our biggest training and coaching element. But what I am seeing in this last year is leadership and management coming back in around those strategies. So we're starting to get where it's all actually linking up, and the people that are actually doing the job are having a plan, know where they're going. Their plan links to the team's plan, the team links to the company plan, links to the group plan. So we're back to that, making sure you've got a strategy that works with everyone involved, and everyone can get involved in the BD strategy. It doesn't matter who they are in the business. And that was one of the things that we did on that BDX summit as well. So think about it. How are you going to drive it forward? And then where are those issues? So start with your SWOT, start with a personal analysis, and then from there, okay, what's the strategy? And now what AI, what tools, what human elements do we need to work on to deliver?
Okay, and it's only fair that I'll give my prediction so you can all call me out on it in the future as well. I think we're going to see a greater divide between those who had real value and put the consultant back into recruitment consultant, and those who are just looking to do the arms and legs recruitment. And I think where we're going to see that divide is not just in fees. That is one place you can charge more for a better service, but I think we're going to see that in where candidates want to be. They want to be somewhere where it's adding value to their journey and helping them on that journey, not just saying, I've got a great job, you're a great fit, let's get you in. We're going to see a greater and greater divide between those. And I think the key differentiator between those is going to be how they use technology to give them the time to be able to do the personal piece, whether that's with candidates or clients. And if you speak to them, I think you'll see people will say, those who are succeeding will say, we've had a great plan that we work, whether that's BD, outreach, marketing, how we engage post placement, whatever that is, that's where they'll come, their success parameters will be. And those who aren't succeeding will say, I know this market, I know what I'm doing, I've been doing it 20 years, and I'm going to keep plugging on. And I think we're going to see that kind of great divide. We haven't got any questions in the question app, so I've got one quick question for each of you. I'm going to start with Denise. Denise, obviously you're speaking with recruiters day in, day out, and again we talked about this balance between AI and tech. What's the AI and personal relationship? What is the first step they can take towards that? If there is, I've not put anything in my business today, I've run it like I was running it. What's the first step they need to take?
I think they need to make sure they've not got untapped brilliance in their business right now. Go look at that and then work out once they have that out, and these are the ideas we want to use across the business. Have a look at how it's best delivered. That's it. If they want to kind of have a benchmark against that, I've got a free tool on my website they can use, but that wasn't a plug for that.
Oh, plug away.
Oh, okay, great. If you want to maximize everything in your business and you want a benchmark to measure that on and start you off finding where your brilliance is that you can elevate, finding where you've got gaps that you need to fill, that's free for now, so use it.
Great. Ben, question for you, which is one of the things, and I will caveat, I know Ben's team, they're lovely, so I'm going to say this beforehand, but your team are particularly good at that marrying up, because obviously they live and breathe it. You provide a technology that allows for true outreach and integration. How have you found the adoption of that tech into and blending the personal piece? How have you found people are taking that on at the moment? Because I know your team are particularly good at it.
Yeah, I think you've got to. The whole adoption journey starts before someone actually touches the platform. And for me, it's about how can you get consultants to buy into wanting something to work versus being given something. And at that point, it's if you're thinking about bringing AI or automation or whatever it is into your business, go and ask the consultants what they would like solving first. So it's their problems you are solving. You're then going to bring them into the sales process. So not everybody, obviously, but like at least get them to feel like they are part of that decision. And then the tool or technology or whatever change you're going to make will have a much better chance of success because they feel that they've got their name to it. It's a bit like if someone tells you to do the dishes, you're like, no, I'll do it when I'm ready. But if you come up with the idea, oh, I should do the dishes, it's a great idea. You're happy to do it. So it's like if someone's telling you to do something, that's human psychology just tells you, actually, no, I'll do it when I'm ready. Versus actually, if you come up with the idea, of course you want it to succeed.
Yeah, I call that best felt than telt. If somebody's telling me to do something, I'm just not that interested. If it's my idea, which my wife does to me, and I've been married a very long time, she does to me all the time. I just do it all the time. Angela, one of the things I want to throw out to you is we're talking a lot about new adoption, about outreach, all these good things. But where does that start? Does that start with training your team? Does that start with their buy-in? Where does that start for you, from your point of view?
For me, it starts with research, and that could be with your team. So whether that's a training needs analysis, but you've got to actually find out, as Denise said, where are their strengths to start with? What can we build on here? Too many people spend a lot of time on their development areas, ignoring their strengths, and actually it should be the other way around. Utilize your strengths to develop your development areas. So make sure you're clear on those, and then you can set projects, and we call them workouts. We're a gym, recruiting gym. So the workouts to actually put the learning into practice using the strengths. So something they're actually going to enjoy, that they are going to put it into practice. So for me, find out, where are those development areas? Where are your strengths? Where are the opportunities? Where are the threats? We might as well use the SWOT at the end as well, because it's come through all the way time. But it's amazing how many people don't just take the time to see, where am I? Yeah. Where do I want to be? Okay, what's the plan? How am I going to get there? And use your team, do it together. It's so much better. If you're a small company, it's easy. If not, then maybe you'll do it in groups. But for everyone to feel like they've contributed towards that plan, towards the vision, knowing and understanding it right from the off makes a huge impact compared to someone in a room working it all out and then telling you, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've put there's a QR code on screen at the moment, and you can get the full report to go through, and then come and question us, come and agree or disagree, but we'd love to hear your opinion. And it just leaves me to say thank you, because we are at time, to Denise, Ben and Angela for joining us today and sharing their pearls of wisdom and their time. And thank you to all of you who've joined us as well. You can reach out to any of the people on LinkedIn. Again, they are experts in their field. I would encourage you to do that. Denise has put a link into her website, so go and check that out as well. Thank you all. Have a great day. Check out Angela's website as well. And she's put some links in as well. But it's been great having you here. Thanks very much. And we'll speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Thank you.